Hi, good evening. This is Jack Bareilles for the NorCal Premier Grant Writing Workshop. We will go live here. We'll start here in just about 30 seconds or so. And my goal is about 30 minutes total, and we'll go from there. Again, good evening. We'll kick off here in about 7:01. All right. Good evening. Background, that's our 14-year-old dog who is not feeling well and will wolf occasionally. I apologize for that, but we've had her for a while. Anyway, good evening, everybody. I'm Jack Bareilles with AC Samoa up in Humboldt County. We will, we're going to go through our agenda tonight, and then what I propose to do is be as brief as we can, for the simple reason that will allow, what I'd like to do is, instead of answering individual questions for all of you, I would, well, we can do it tonight, but I am more than willing to meet over the phone over the next few weeks with different clubs and help you find some of the specific things that you might hope to find, and state data and things like that. Sorry, I'm going to have to live with the glasses, and I'm sorry they're glary. Anyway, our agenda for this evening involves, is it a grant you really want, partnering with local schools, parks, community rec service district, partnering with other sports leagues and programs, reviewing 2 or 3 funded grants. I have those as the Google Doc, and I think I set the settings correctly now that you can actually access that without a password. We talked about practice writing a grant. I'd rather do that individually on a one-on-one basis. I think it's just more useful, and then Q&A. So without any further ado, let's get going here. Our first topic for tonight then is what is a grant you really want? As we talked about last time, there is, while there's no shortage of grants, there is a shortage of grants specifically that we want. Field development being the best example. If you are trying to develop a field, and really the only grants out there are through the U.S. Soccer Foundation, also through field turf and people like that, and of course then the NFL does it as well. But the problem with those is that there aren't a lot of them, and the competition is incredibly fierce. And it's not just fierce in terms of your club's demographics, it's also your club's size. And so if you have to be both large enough and yet serving a disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged enough population to be able to actually have a chance to get the grant. I think last time I mentioned, when I looked into this a few years ago, some of the grants they were serving, they had 10,000 players within a 10-15 mile radius, and for somebody like me way up in the north, that's just not a real possibility. Another option though, and with our potentially new governor, if Gavin Newsom wins, there is always the possibility the state of California Department of Education will be pushing more money out to the schools in terms of facilities. Also school bonds or park bonds as well. And that brings up the possibility of partnering with your local school district or with your local parks and rec. It's interesting, we've had this discussion before, hypothetically, unfortunately, but if someone came and offered us $1 million or $1.5 million in the property to put up a field, would we take it? And of course the answer is yes, but go to that place where, congratulations, you now have a brand new field, and you've got lights and you've got bathrooms, and now you're responsible for it. Now you have to maintain it. Whereas I've made the argument, and this is my school bias, I think we're, in many ways, we'd better off if the local school district or parks department had it, because I'd rather pay $40, $50 an hour and not be responsible for insurance or maintenance or replacement after 12, 15 years, whatever that happens to be. We're at a turf field. So it really comes down to your area. The other thing to consider too is, are you in a high growth area? A lot of the communities in this state are they are building new buildings. They're building new homes and things like that. And there might be developers fees. Those developers fees provide an opportunity for you to talk to your local Parks and Recreation Department, to your local city council, and potentially move governmental funds, tax funds, to help support youth, a youth play place. It's also where you might want to partner with your local youth football team, and youth football club. I say that because football does tear up fields, but they only play in the autumn, which here in California, with our Mediterranean climate, even in a wet year, typically the autumn is a time where grass fields are still playable and available. And so those are just things to consider. If you have thoughts about your own individual town or community, that'd be something that I'd be happy to talk about a little more in detail if you do decide you want to just shoot me an email and schedule a time for us to talk about that. So unless there's questions on that, I'm going to jump ahead to the reviewing 2 or 3 funded grants with your permission. So if we can go to that right now, that would be great. These 3 grants that I have here are, I think there's 4 of them actually. One is for a paper shredder for a life skills class, a severe special day class in my high school. It's a small grant. There's a few things that I want you to be aware of though. And then the next one was a San Jose Earthquakes $500 grant we wrote years ago, and you'll see that. And I actually have 2 grants that have nothing to do with soccer. It's not the paper shredder grant did, but they both talk about our community. And I just want to show you what the community outline looks like. And again, I can help you find that information for your community. This is something you would not be necessarily doing were you writing to a local nonprofit. But if you are, in fact, writing to a statewide or a more regional or even national organization, it's the way to go. So, pardon me, our first grant here, just a couple of things to keep in mind, the things that are highlighted. Again, the specifics are not important, but this one here, we talk about the 23 kids. So we're giving the funder an idea of pardon me, how many kids they'll be helping. Obviously, our numbers are bigger when we're writing a grant for our soccer kids, but it's important you do that. Additionally, we would talk about their demographic information, what percentage of the kids are, and again, we get this information, unless your club has it, from your local schools, from the California Department of Education website. Here, I'm giving a reason the students work with teachers and staff to learn skills to live more independently after they finish high school. Our severe special day class are children with disabilities that are comparable or including things like Down syndrome. I typically try to put a picture, especially if it's a grant to a local funder or a couple funders in there. I didn't want to put the actual photographs from here because I didn't have permission. But this would be an idea, you having a picture of some of your kids out practicing soccer or something like that. Younger kids are great, they're cute. I always try to give a needs statement or the problem. So in this case, unfortunately, the shredder is falling apart. Ours might be, unfortunately, we're short on field space, or or we need more, we need more gear and materials, our soccer balls or this or that, and our families don't have the money to pay for it, and we've gone out to other vendors and supporters, and that actually comes to the next thing I'll talk about in a minute. Expected outcomes, what are the positives? What's going to come out of this? If you give me $2,000, what am I going to use that $2,000 for? And when and will I give a report back? A report back on something like this can literally be as simple as just a 1-page little document, or frankly, a picture of the kids using it and a little note saying, "Hey, thank you, Rotary Club of fill in the blank. We were a generous grant. We were able to purchase this, and Oops, so 1 sec, please. Can somebody text, or can somebody please give me a comment that I'm still being heard? It's asking me to reload the site. I don't want to reload the site. Anyway, hopefully I'm still live. Again, something as simple as, are we still being are we using it? Sorry about that. I'm distracted here. Sorry, I'm going to text in 1 moment, please, to see if I am live. This happened last time about 10 minutes in. Maybe it's a NorCal. I mean, maybe it's a Facebook thing. 1 moment, please. Okay, 1 moment. Oh, we can still hear. Okay, here we go. Still here. Thank you. Somebody say, okay. Thank you, guys. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, your report would be that. Report, Facebook. Sorry. The other questions, things. Some of these